Sean O'Malley does not deserve to fight Merab. UFC 316 is coming up this Saturday, and the main event is a fight that nobody asked for. Why is Dana White trying to push Sean like he's the next Conor McGregor? Bro is as entertaining as mayonnaise. This is absolute rubbish. There is no need for this fight to happen. And I'm gonna tell you what should have happened in terms of matchmaking instead. And I gotta cover this on how this all started. But also, just a quick side note. That last fight night event, that was an absolute disaster piece. The main event ended up getting cancelled at the last minute, and man, I didn't watch that fight night because I genuinely did not care for who was fighting that night. But from what I saw on social media, it looked like a huge circus.
Pretty unprofessional. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight her again.
Do you know what happened?
I was told she had a seizure in the loss.
But anyways, let's talk about how we got to this fight. Starting back to the Sphere pay-per-view event, which was UFC 306. Okay, let's do this. Back in September 2024, the UFC made a once-in-a-lifetime stupendous event. The UFC decided to hold a pay-per-view, but in the Las Vegas Sphere. Truly, something like this has never been done before. No other sport has ever done this, and I don't think any other sport can actually do this. Like, imagine holding a golf tournament inside the Sphere. That ain't gonna work. Anyways, the UFC was going to go all out for this, obviously. They needed to make this card absolutely stacked, and they had already invested $20 million for this one event. That's an insane amount of money. But who were they going to have as the main event? First off, this event was a UFC Noche event, based off of celebrating Mexican Independence Day, which is cool and all, but that doesn't mean that the main event had to exclusively be Mexican fighters, even though the majority of the card consisted of that. But nonetheless, who was fighting? And the main event is O'Malley versus Merab. I mean, it's not a bad fight by all means, but it was clear that the UFC was trying to push their golden boy, Sean O'Malley, as their biggest main event payout, especially having him to be the main event of the Sphere card. But regardless, the event took place, and I will say that the Sphere looked absolutely amazing inside. The screen looked so good inside the Sphere, it looked something straight out of an Avengers movie. And some of the fights were pretty good too, up until Shevchenko versus Grasso happened. That fight killed the mood almost right away. It was definitely one of the fights of all time. And then we get into the main event, Merab versus O'Malley, and we end up getting almost a pretty much one-sided fight with Merab winning the fight to a decision. Even though Sean had his moments here and there with Merab, especially with the front kicks in the last round, obviously it wasn't enough for him to start winning the fight. And I'm pretty sure that Dana White was pissed when he had to wrap the belt around Merab, just like how he did with Bilal Muhammad. So now we get into the next fight. Dana White announces one of the biggest fights already for the year of 2025 for UFC 311, and I mean glorious fights. Dana confirms that Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan was going to be the main event, and Merab versus Umar Nurmagomedov will be the co-main. The UFC really ate with this one, and totally nothing wrong was going to happen for the main event. Newsflash, it got cancelled, but I'm not here to talk about that fight. But if you want to know what I thought of that fight not happening, go ahead and check out my video by clicking on the link. But anyways, Merab was now the champion and was now set to face the music with Umar Nurmagomedov. Of course, a lot of people thought that Umar was going to win the fight. Why? I mean, come on bro. He's a Nurmagomedov. He's Khabib's cousin. And he's the cousin of Usman Nurmagomedov, who is also the champion, but in Bellator. He trains with Islam too. In fact, he's one of the best Dagestani fighters out there and was undefeated. So just that alone, people really thought that he was going to win this fight. And right before the fight happened, Sean O'Malley kept a very close eye on who was going to be the new champ. Clearly, Merab didn't have a chance to win this fight, even though he's a good grappler, right? Incorrect! Merab ends up winning the fight against Umar. It was such a good and competitive fight too, and it ended up being fight of the night. It had a lot of Dagestani fans absolutely furious from the fight. But now we move on to the next fight, and how we all didn't ask for this fight. So after pulling off one of the most impressive wins ever, we all thought that Merab is genuinely one of the best fighters ever. That he should have another big fight. Maybe defend his belt against Peter Yan, or the winner of Yan versus O'Malley 2, or even yet if Alexander Pantoja wanted to move up and fight for the bantamweight title. I honestly think that could have been a really good fight too. Man, all these fights sound really good. They gave it to Sean O'Malley right away. Dana White, why? Why are you trying so hard to make Sean O'Malley like he's the next $1 million generating machine when he's nowhere near the fame that y'all claim him to be at right now? Why? Just because he has a funny haircut and he has a Lamborghini and he looks like a GTA Online character? If you gave this guy a mic, he would absolutely give no energy or hype at all to the audience. This is how Sean O'Malley answers questions to the media. Hey Sean, how do you feel going into this fight? I feel good. Hey Sean, what's your game plan for this fight this time? I've been working really hard. Hey Sean, how do you think this fight will end? I'm gonna knock him out. Yeah, why couldn't Dana make Sean have at least one more fight, possibly against Peter Yan, to prove that he should have his rematch with Merab? In fact, why is Dana White making all of these bad decisions this year, where he's literally just a part-time CEO and doesn't even promote his own company at all? Why do you think TKO fired Dana White as the promoter of Canelo versus Crawford? He's been so lazy lately with matchmaking. He didn't even look excited when he announced the main event of UFC 317. I understand that the UFC is a business at the end of the day and that they need to make some money, but shoving down our throats with fights that don't make sense or even fights that were not deserved is not the right way to do it at all. Like Jones versus Stipe, which should have been Jones versus Aspinall at this point. They gave us Aspinall versus Blades, DDP versus Strickland 2, Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, Pereira versus Roundtree. Even though that fight was an absolute banger, you have to be real with yourself. It should have been Pereira versus Ankalaev instead. And why am I hearing rumors about Yair Rodriguez possibly fighting Alexander Volkanovski? It just doesn't make sense at all. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're all rooting for Merab to win this fight. Because even though Sean has some good knockout moments in his fights, it still doesn't help that this guy is not promotional material and he is not this next superstar that Dana is desperately trying to make. I just want to make this really clear that Sean does not deserve to fight Merab and Dana White needs to be fired. In conclusion, why must we suffer as UFC fans? And most importantly, why is Dana White still the CEO of the UFC? This guy used to be the top dog of promoting his own product. He bought the UFC back when nobody else wanted it. He knew there was potential with the UFC because he knew how to make good fights, and they were fights that made sense and what the fans wanted. Nowadays, Dana doesn't even show up to his own press conferences, gives the most lowest energy when announcing big fights when they're supposed to be hyped up. He's the main reason why John Jones hasn't fought Tom Aspinall. And honestly, if he's still around as the CEO of the UFC for maybe the next 5 years, I genuinely believe that the product will plunder. He obviously doesn't care about his own product. Why should he still be around? He has enough money in his pockets that he doesn't even have to make fights like Merab versus O'Malley 2 just to make an easy paycheck for that night. And who should they hire as the new CEO? They should hire me! I'd make all the fights that everyone wants to see, like finally having Jones versus Aspinall, Islam versus Ilya, Magomed versus Johnny Walker, Sergey Pavlovich versus Mario Batista, Mario versus Sonic. The possibilities are endless. Just kidding. Obviously, don't do that. But in all seriousness, us UFC fans are very hypocritical if you think about it. As much as you all say you don't want to see this fight happen, you know you're gonna watch it. You know that. Why are you lying? But anyways, I'll leave it at that for now. I really hope Merab wins this fight just so we can finally move on from Sean and he will have to clearly fight a competitor next. But it's the UFC. Anything can happen. So we'll see how this goes. But until then, I'll see y'all in the next one. Goodbye.